Hey, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Telcoin, aka Tel. So with that being said, let's just dive in and let's start off with a few things. So over the last couple days, I've been purchasing Telcoin. I'm at roughly $6,000 in Telcoin. Over the last couple days, that's when we reached about $5,000 invested. I did throw back in November about roughly $1,000 into Telcoin, waiting to see what happened. And guess what? It started to take off back in December. From there, we kind of just chilled down a little bit. And just recently, going back to the 15th of June, we hit about roughly 0.0012. During this time, I started to accumulate a little bit of Tel. And just recently, we accumulated heavily down here within this range. Now, with that in mind, let's talk about a few things. So today, as we look at Telcoin, and if we go all the way back to the all-time chart, we know that we are still very well undervalued. What Telcoin is doing is they're spearheading the move around mass adoption through your cell phone, which is very interesting, right? It's kind of on par with ACH. I'm also in ACH for those that don't know. These are two tokens that are really focused on and off ramps to and from crypto in a very easy manner. As we look at Telcoin today, we know that the circulating supply is sitting at about roughly almost 67.9 billion Telcoin. About roughly almost 68% of the supply is fully out there. Market cap, you're looking at roughly about $105 million market cap, fully diluted, about $155.6 million in market cap. You could find this on many exchanges out there, like Qcoin for an example. The only other one that I'm looking at is like Bybit or BitGet, and also even Bitrue for those that are utilizing that exchange as well. So it still does have a ton of listing potential for it. But as we look at the Telcoin chart today, I find it very, very interesting. So back here is that major run up, and if you go all the way back to March of 2020, it did have even more of an incredible run up. With it doing well over a 104,000% move. Now, most people were buying in during these candles up here, which is about roughly a 50,000+% move. Are we looking at that same move today? No, I'm not expecting it either. So as we look at today's price, the big level at which I'm targeting is about roughly 10 cents, 10.5 cents is the goal here. If we do end up reaching out to the higher levels, almost 30 cents would be the target, which this would be almost a 270x return on Telcoin. Obviously, you want to de-risk as much as possible as early on. So, once we hit a 2x, maybe get your initial investment out, but it's totally up to you guys. I've been utilizing this level down here as the accumulation zone. So anything within this level is accumulation zone to me. So recently, that's why I started to buy more, because we hit nearly perfectly the level of the November and October lows. Well, actually the October lows, because in November, that's when we started to jump out a little bit, define all odds with FTX. So yeah, we hit this range almost perfectly. So I couldn't deny the idea that we were undervalued there again. So I accumulated. Right now we are hitting a little bit of resistance, so we might come back down and make a little bit of a higher low here at about 0.00135. But anything within this range, in my opinion, is a great long-term buy for where we will most likely head to. Now, let's talk about a few prices. Let's talk about why I believe that we could see 10 to 30 cents on Telcoin. So first off, as we look at today's statistics, it's a little bit different compared to the all-time high during May of 2021. Back in May of 2021, Telcoin hit roughly about a well, it's actually a little bit off, because remember, this price back here was like 6.5 cents. So it was a little bit higher than this. I'd argue maybe anywhere between, we could actually do the math real quick and get an accurate viewpoint. So it had a market cap of about roughly $3.3 billion. So if we actually look at this at today's prices, like I said, considering the fact that the supply has increased a little bit, $3.3 billion would be about roughly a little bit over 4.5 cents, which is still a 30x return, which is not too bad. But with the token dilution a little bit, we are looking at a lower price for the same market cap that it did have at about roughly 6.5 cents. Now, does that mean that Telcoin is destined to fail and it's not going to reach that all-time high again? No, not at all. If we actually look at the all-time high, it's still roughly about almost a 4.6. It's almost a $5 billion market cap. That is not too crazy, especially once we start to see money flowing within the space. The reason why I'm targeting like roughly 10.5 cents for Telcoin is it's still under a $10 billion market cap, it's sitting at about roughly 7.4 billion. Back here, we know that Telcoin was still, a little bit over the top 50. This time around, I do believe that Telcoin could reach into the top 50 and probably well into the top 40. And with how much money is going to flow into the space, we could see these top 50 coins having anywhere between a 5 to 10 to $15 billion market cap for it. Again, we don't know exactly where this market is going in the next major run up in terms of like the all-time highs. But I'm still looking at an area at which I'm very, very confident that Telcoin could hit. And I do think that we will see the recent high. And I believe that we will see a new all-time high for Telcoin as well, simply because of how much expansion that we've seen from the Telcoin team in the last couple of weeks and even months versus what we've seen back in 2021. Remember, the main reason why I look at some of these tokens now more than ever before is that, during their run-ups back in these times, there wasn't much substance to these projects. Today, we actually have a lot more substance. There's a lot more expansion from the Telcoin team. So I don't see why we can't go over that all-time high and reach out a little bit higher to about like roughly 10.5 cents. 10.5 cents, still sitting under $10 billion market cap, an upside of 67x. Now, at those higher valuations, like 30 cents, for example, this is where things get a little bit more challenging. This is a 194x return. This at about roughly a $21 billion market cap. Do I believe that Telcoin is worth about $21 billion in market cap today? Not necessarily, right? So that's why I do think that these valuations are a little bit more of a challenge to hit. That's why I'm looking at roughly 10 cents. I think 10 cents is a good area. It's a good conservative level as well. And with how much expansion that we've seen, like I said, from the Telcoin team, I don't see why we can't hit about roughly a $7 billion market cap. A lot of these tokens that did hit $7 billion in market cap, for example, during the last major run up, a lot of these were OG tokens or tokens that, don't have a ton of substance for them. So I really do look at what Telcoin is doing. And I look at how much hype there was around Telcoin during 2021 versus now. And it seems as though the community has grown quite a bit. And like I said, we continue to see the Telcoin team making noise over on Twitter. There's a lot of exposure. There's a lot of engagement on Twitter as well. The overall follower count for Telcoin has surpassed almost 100,000 followers. So like I said, the community is still growing, the project is still growing and expanding as well. And it seems as though that they are focused on some very large use cases early on, right? Like we got to look at these projects and kind of come to the realization that they might not be worth $30 billion in market cap yet. Could they be at some point in time? Sure. But today, I'm kind of basing it off of a more conservative outlook. And I do think that $7 billion in market cap at 10 cents is something that's pretty conservative, but also more realistic for Telcoin. But these events that they've been holding are very, very interesting, especially considering the fact that they are talking more so with regulators about the digital asset space on, stable coins, CBDCs, tokenized deposits and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people have speculated that Telcoin could essentially become a bank at some point in time. That is a possibility, especially if they are trying to bank the unbanked through mobile phones. It could definitely be interesting to see where Telcoin is at in the next couple of years around that idea. But today, I'm kind of basing it off what we know around the Telcoin platform. I do think that they're really kind of on par with the idea of banking individuals through their mobile phone. I think that that's a great use case, especially considering the fact that that could be a bridge to mass adoption, especially around on and off ramps, which I've talked about even with ACH. And like I said, the Telcoin team has been expanding recently. In the US, for example, they do have Debit Live, which allows users in the United States to deposit funds into the Telcoin app with their debit card. And they also recently did this in Europe as well. Like I said, they've been expanding quite rapidly, especially within their platform, which I personally love to see. Now, last but not least, as we look at the About section on the Telcoin website, first off, let's look into the products. As we actually look into their products, here's the Telcoin app. They also have a Telcoin platform. as we look at both of these, the biggest thing that you want to look at with a lot of these projects is, are the products that they're offering quality? I've said it in recent videos when I talked to you guys about Telcoin in the past. A lot of the offering from the Telcoin team is very high quality. Again, I'm not getting paid and I'm not sponsored at all from the Telcoin team. I'm just saying, from what we've seen with the expansions and with what they've been doing around this Telcoin app, they continue to upgrade it. They continue to, make sure that it's at the highest point of quality. And it's something that I value whenever I look into a lot of these projects, because there's a lot of platforms and there's a lot of projects within the space that just have complete garbage UI. And you're like, how could this ever become mass adopted by the general public if it looks like this? And with Telcoin, you don't really have that fear, because again, a lot of what they do offer is extremely high quality, which I love to see. Now, going back to the About section, here we have, with more than 5.2 billion active subscribers globally, telecoms have the largest captive audience of retail users that are ready and willing to use mobile financial services in their daily lives. This is evidenced by rapid growth of mobile money platforms, which now exceed 1.2 billion users, generating over $2 billion in daily transaction volume. So this is what they're targeting, right? They're targeting the mobile phone user group around these payment platforms. And again, don't undervalue the mobile money platforms. They are doing $2 billion in daily transaction volume, which is very significant. Now, as we look at what's happening around crypto and around DLT and blockchain technology, we know that the future is, money moving at the speed of light, if you will. And you don't get there without adoption through crypto and exposure to crypto. But how can we do that? And how can we expose the, billions of users out there around mobile phones to crypto? Well, it's through platforms and apps like Telcoin. So I think that they have a great opportunity here to really kind of corner the market. Very similar to ACH. Listen, this is a very competitive scene, but Telcoin has been around since going all the way back to 2017. So I do think that they have the upper hand, and I think that they have a lot of exposure already. Like I said, they've been building quite a bit in just a recent, weeks, months, and even years. Going all the way back to 2021 to today, a little bit of a different viewpoint. And I'm sure everyone can, agree with me that has been holding Telcoin for that long, or even looking into the project for that long. Today versus 2021 is completely different, especially even around the crypto landscape itself, with regulations, adoption, experiments, all that kind of stuff. So as we look at today's world of crypto, and we look at, Telcoin today as well, going all the way back to 2021, got to remember that almost all of these coins, they're not always going to make a new all-time high. But in my opinion, I do think that we can see Telcoin retarget this all-time high from 2021, which is right around like roughly 6.5 cents. The resistance zone is right around like almost 5 cents. So I'm looking at this, and I believe that we could very well break that recent all-time high, target that 10-cent zone, and we'll have to see what we can do, right? Because from 10 cents, it's going to be a lot harder to move up to that 30-cent zone, which would be the golden outreach. But I don't think that we will see that. I think that I'm more basing this off of the all-time high to about 10 cents. So pretty much anywhere between this zone here would be golden, in my opinion, which is like right around 6 cents to 10 cents. Again, being a little bit more conservative, under a $10 billion market cap is what we are looking at. Over a $10 billion market cap would be extremely incredible. But with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on, because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord in the description below. So it's up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this world. That's been Nick. Peace out, guys.